how sword fighting is the way of self-improvement. You, as a man, the world requires of us to grow, and it is hard to truly grow. That's why some of us are on so-called self-improvement. We meditate, we go to the gym to train our bodies, to build ourselves up, to step up in our lives, to have this mental calmness inside of our mind through meditating, through journaling about our feelings, but also our goals. But there's one thing that no one is talking about, and I'm going to prove why you should. It's sword fighting mastery. Because this skill of real sword fighting can teach you more about yourself than these things, because it requires of you to think straight, to be calm under pressure. It teaches you to create opportunities in these matches, in sword fighting, when you train it, of course. And especially when you're fighting another man who wants to hit you back. My first point is that sword fighting strips all of the lies. The real sword fighting skill, in my instance, it's mainly longsword, but of course there's more weapon categories than just longsword. It strips all of these distractions, all of these shiny object syndromes that nearly all of us have. It shows us what truly matters. It shows you as a fighter when you finally pick up a longsword or another weapon. It shows you as a person who you are truly in the dire need. Of course, we create this need somewhat because we step into the arena ourselves. We test our might, but also our technique, but most of all, we test our mindset and our own way of thinking. And it's completely natural for us to feel uncertain and to feel uncomfortable when we're actually fighting someone, because as it should. But in this chaos, it truly shows us who we are. If we're too aggressive, if we're too dominant, and we still lose because of it, it may show us that we can't control our feelings well, or we can't plan our moves to defeat our opponent, but also it shows us that we can't create or think about specific plans for our lives also. On another side, if we're too passive in our sword fighting, and we most often than not stay in one place, trying to only defend ourselves and not to pressure our opponent back, then it also may show us that we lack motivation inside of us, that we lack just the pure grit that every one of men need today, especially. Because, as I said, today's world is built around constant distractions. The whole system is there for us to indulge into, just like video games, scrolling on Instagram, watching hours upon hours of YouTube content and not doing with it anything under the quotes that we're learning something. No, I don't really think that we'll learn until we actually start to do it and we start to fail in these kind of masteries. So, as you may know, there is this saying that you could start it one day or get to it one day, but it also could be day one of your journey. So that's something you should consider. So my next point is that fear, pain, and real pressure build our character. And I can say that it really works because I lived through it. 2 years ago, or even more, I indulged in video games. I tried to distract myself from my way of life because I didn't want to step out of my comfort zone. And it's totally understandable. It was a lot easier to just stick playing my games than master something hard, just like longswords here. And in comparison to my today journey, I clearly see my path now. Of course, it's not going to be easy, and that's the whole point. Because, just like I said, pain, pressure, and stepping out of the comfort zone is what truly builds us. I lived through it, yes, and now I really see how I changed. Sword fighting makes it a lot clear for me. I mean, the comparison at least, because I see how much I have the confidence in my moves when I fight, how much I know, and also how much I don't know. Because if you try to master something, at the beginning it feels like easy. You just have to swing your sword. But when you really start to get into it, into the loophole, into the rabbit hole of the techniques, of different time periods, of different weapons, of different masters, different way of fighting, styles of fighting, I mean. And you just start to see how much there is an iceberg of information that you could learn and train also, because learning isn't just about getting the theory, it's also using it in practical matches, in sword fighting, in sparrings also. And also this system, in the contrary with social media, it made us in a weird way more fear in the other person. We haven't had any communities to grow with, a brotherhood of guys who may be training the same skill as you are. That's why I also have my own school community called From Gamer to Swordsman, because that's what I wished I had when I played my video games. And I wanted to start sword fighting, but I didn't know how to. And I didn't have any motivation to do so. So check out the link in the description if you're interested. And I really recommend to you, if you're just a beginner, if you're already started HEMA, or specifically longsword, or you're thinking about it, I'll make sure that you stop thinking about it and you actually start it. So go check the link in the description. My third point for today is that sword fighting builds discipline and patience. Most of all, patience. Because to start and to keep grinding at this sword fighting mastery, you have to have not only motivation, but the discipline. And motivation comes later, when you actually progress through it and you get some kind of result. Then you have more motivation to do so. Just like in fitness, when you're only starting at the beginning, you don't see any changes. But after maybe 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, for me at least, I already started to see how I changed, how I've built my fitness up. And that's the same with sword fighting skill. You have to go at it time and time again to actually progress through it and to get the result. But it also teaches you the very important thing, which is patience, which today is not something that is required of us, at least. Not in a professional sense, but just like in our day-to-day life. Everything around us is built for instant gratification. And it's a lot easier to lose our patience because everything is just for our reach. We can order our food by our apps. We can pull our screens up when we're eating and watch some YouTube videos. We don't have to go or cycle to our work. We can order an Uber or just go with our car. which is, I know it's a necessity sometimes because some of us live in rural places and we need to have cars. But what I mean is that with our comfort, it's a lot easier to lose our patience for the world around us. And sword fighting skill builds our patience back. It gives us the patience that we had when we were only children. You may remember that when you were in school or when you were just at home, you didn't had maybe smartphones, you didn't had I know, computers, you just only had toys that there were there and you were bored. So you were bored for 5 minutes and you had to do something with these toys. You had to come up with some idea to play with them, to, I don't know, maybe master some skill, or you got so bored with playing with these toys that you went out to your backyard or just to the outside to find something to do. Maybe you found a stick and you started to swing with it and you started to hit a tree. That's how, in a weird way, we can get our patience back. My fourth point is the fight is a metaphor for our life. The sword fight through which we come victorious or we lose. The actual win or lose don't really matter because it's just another fight. Of course, we're training this martial skill with proper behavior, with proper mindset. We don't want to hurt our opponent. We want to test our own technique and mindset. What I really want to tell you is that this fight is a mirror of our life. Just like I said, if you're too aggressive and you can't control your moves, or you too passive and you freeze in one place when you're fighting your opponent, it may show you who you truly are. My next point is that sword fighting is the antidote for our modern life. I already mentioned that today's system is designed to keep us lazy, and it makes it a lot more easier to stay as you are. But you can also, in a weird way, lie to yourself that you're already a master swordsman. And that's a mindset trick that I used when I only started my journey. Of course, I had to be humble when I fought with someone and learn through it. But this mindset trick really helped me out to stick to training this craft even more and to stay consistent with it. And to not lose my confidence in one day I'll get the technique, that I'll get eventually better. That's what truly helped me out in my journey, at least. In an actual combat scenario, sword fighting requires of you to be fit enough, to have strong mindset, a warrior's mindset even, to be prepared to face your opponent when you need to have courage when you still have fear inside of you, to be always prepared to attack yourself when the opportunity arrives or you create it yourself, but also to not be passive, to not get hit to the head, to the chest by just being scared. You have to be proactive, you have to defend yourself, you have to riposte, you have to attack when you need to, and you have to defeat your opponent, to also have respect in this kind of art. Also what I remembered is I've seen a study somewhere that said that people who trained martial arts like box, like kickboxing or HEMA or karate, these people are a lot more calm with pressure in life. When there's something going on which is critical, which may be critical, I mean, like a critical situation in life, maybe someone got beaten up in your family or you got a bad grade, These kind of people could get past of the pain and actually start to change the result. So to be calm under the real pressure. In sword fighting, that is of course when you're fighting another opponent, when you're fighting your sparring partner. But in life it could be anything. It could be someone tries to break into your house. So you don't just get scared, but you have courage to, I don't know, to get him out of your house. Even if you get beaten up, you just do what you're supposed to do. You may fail sometimes, but sword fighting teaches you to think straight under that pressure. And my next point, which I already tackled in my previous ones, is that sword fighting builds brotherhood and purpose. In my honest opinion, you can't progress through your life by your own. You need masters, you need coaches, but you also need friends and clubmates with which you will train time and time again, who will test you each time when you're coming to fight them. Of course, even if they're better, you're trying to defeat them time and time again, so you're improving yourself through them. And yes, that's also you need competition, because competition in this kind of environment is also very important to actually progress, to actually train yourself to the past the line of success, to actually go through the edge of comfort, which is basically a paper wall that you can just stick your hand through. But you may think that it's a stone wall. It requires of you to actually get even more out of yourself when you're showing up each time. And for a purpose in life, every one of us can create purpose for ourselves. Purpose doesn't mean that someone gives it to you. Purpose is something that you create for yourself. You choose your own purpose through your own actions, your own self-beliefs, but also through your own self-discipline also, and goals. These things actually what makes our purpose. Of course, it could be fluid. We could be thinking that we want to be a great swordsman one day, so we actually train it every day. So we do the actual specific things to actually get there. So we execute on our plans. We not only plan what we want to achieve, we actually execute on the tasks that we need to do to achieve goals. To be specific, for me it's getting to top 100 in HEMA ratings, which is actually hard, but I really believe that one day I'll achieve that, and I'll be proud to announce it to you one day. And for you it could be something else. For you it could be maybe you're in a rough place right now in your life. So for you it could be, I know, get up from your bed or your desk with video games and go to your local gym to train. Whichever it may be for you, it's a lot better for you to do it than just stick to your old bad habits. If that message really hit you and you trust me enough, then check out my link in the description, which is my school community called From Gamer to Swordsman, where inside you can join this community of like-minded guys who are training sword fighting, and also learn longsword techniques, which is my mega course for total beginners without any experience, without any technique and without any equipment. You don't need these things to actually start training sword fighting skills, mainly longsword, for now. I really recommend you to check out the link in the description. Today it may be your sign to actually start this path for real and stop thinking about it. We are building something more than just instant gratification in video games. We're learning real skills with swords. Of course, with caution. We don't want to get injured. And of course, in this kind of community, we give feedback to each other. I'll be glad to help you out when you'll eventually join this community. So check out the link in the description or the first pinned comment. And remember, always take the initiative.